Hi everyone, let's just have a quick catch up. Last week I started with some calico. I mixed it with some water and vinegar, soaked it, and then I spread it out on a tray. I used an old rusted steel wool pad to see what that would do when I crumbled it on. And then I added some rusty flakes from something else. I then covered it with some paper and let the excess water soak into it. So when it was dry, I lifted the paper up and I have a lovely marked paper and fabric to use. Then we added a few other bits and bobs and glued them down. This is where we left this piece last time. This is what we're looking at. You know, already I've come back to it on another day and I see things that I might need to do or I might like to do. I don't want quite so much of this, so I'll rip a bit more of that out. It's just paper, doesn't matter. Now this part was cloth and this part here was paper, so I'm thinking that it really needs something behind, maybe a piece of felt or something that's that it would stick to. But when I look at it, I start to think, well, what can I do with it? And I've grabbed a few things out, and I'll tell you why. I look at it and I can see, yes, I've got some dark, but the rest of it is very much the one colour. And I think I tried to put this in to add a bit of shine and light, but that's not really going to do it. So one thing I grabbed out was some plain old calico. I ripped a bit off, frayed the edges. And I thought, so something like that. Can you see how automatically that lifts everything? Yeah, having that little bit of white against it, or cream, is a smaller piece. I could use something like that. Anyway, that's one thing I grabbed out was some calico. Another thing I grabbed out was this crinkly paper. I really like this stuff. I love the edge that you get on it. So it's possible I might use some of that. When I put it down, I thought, no, you're still not light enough, and that's why I started looking at this. I think you can see that really makes a big pop. I grabbed this bit out just in case I could use something of that, because that's so, once again, whitey cream, very, very bright. Another thing I grabbed out, which I'll probably use, is my bag here of, and I've shown you before, and this is salvage edges, which I keep. And see, look at, you can see the salvage there, but the threads have been left on it, so I think they're good too. I'm just going to look at the lightest one I've got here. That's quite good too. So I might use something like that, I don't know. Just getting a palette of things out that I may want to use. This is quite nice. It's taken away from all of the rusty colours and introduced another colour that suits but isn't in this range here. So I will look at it. I will decide. I will add some bits. That's quite nice too. It fits with that theme. It looks so organic. Or I could use the other side, but this side has got a print on it and this lovely edge again. So something like that will come into play. Now what else do I have? This one's a velvet, and the edge of it was this green, dark green ruffle. Yeah, that's quite nice too. So this is what we'll be thinking about. What can we do with this? Like, what is it? It could just be something that's like a abstract piece. It could be something more suggestive of a landscape, which I do tend to do a lot of. But I think I'll just start with ripping out a little bit of this gold tissue paper that we sort of semi-glued down last time, just to sort of tack it down. I'd like to see more of that background fabric come through. So I'll take out a little bit of that. You can see I've torn some of this gold paper, made it finer. Down here I cut this off. Don't want a straight edge there. Just took it down. And then I thought, what will I do with this bit? And I started to go under here and I thought, okay, I can do that. It's a tree, kind of. But whilst under there, I saw this one. When I pulled it up, I accidentally ripped the paper and it folded down. And I thought, maybe we can use that. Let's try doing it on purpose. Let's fold some creases into the edge of that paper. Does that give us an interesting thing? I don't know. Sometimes we could fold it up, sometimes we could fold it down, sometimes we could fold it twice and flick it back up again. It has merit. I think we can do something like that. That kind of works. I could go with that. I like that green showing up. They're the green edges of hills or something. I've got this little tiny snippet. What will I do with that? Where could I put it? I'll try a few different spots, but I'm really thinking it's too triangular. Maybe better off with, two smaller pieces or something. We can try that. Another thing I was looking at was thinking that part of it needs to be sky. Part of it needs to be land, so you do need a point where it's not. Where it's the horizon. And this bit was ripped. So I could see a hill. And then I think, how can we join it up? Well, I like this. This is sort of a nice, maybe it has a smaller one leading up to that, but this colour isn't particularly right. Unless it was trees. Who knows? So we have to find some way to shade that in, make that different to this. This is our sky, and this is our land. I was saying before that I love this edge, this paper, this crinkly card. And so I'm thinking, I really should look and see what kind of shape I want, but I'm just going to do something like that to start with. And then I'm going to, wouldn't that be nice in between? Well, I quite like it actually. Okay, let's just take this down there. Yes. Either it's snow or the light is just sending a beam out that way. How lovely is that? That could be great. Perhaps we can use another bit of it here. Something. just to continue something that looks like a horizon. That's the idea anyway. So let the fabric, let the pattern, let whatever the texture is tell you what you could possibly do. This one's a crisp edge, you see, so I could cut out something. You can imagine that as the background of a tree, but I didn't really like the shape of the one before, so let's just do something. You know, maybe if we cut out a couple of those, you know, or maybe they're up on the next layer, the next hill, which is here. But what I was thinking with this, that I would just cut some different shape out. And because it's a hard edge, you know, it's not going to fray, it's not going to move. It's a webbing kind of thing. Maybe that's a little bit more natural if I have it like that. One like that, one like that. I could even use this scrap it really if I wanted. And that's just from seeing it down here, the bit that we cut off, what we could possibly use it for. And let it suggest things to you. Alright, well, there's a possibility. Now, how would we make it work? Like I said, something needs to be under this. If I try and stitch through that, it's just going to tear it to pieces. It's alright where it's on the fabric, but I think probably I need to put it either on a light card that I could stitch through, or a piece of felt, or a piece of fabric. You know, may even need to do some more gluing, but you know, use a glue that's, if it, you know, this might need full strength white PVA glue, but these things, no, they just need, you know, half and half with water, things like that. I was a bit slapdash last time when I did this, but I could redo it again. You know, just put glue underneath on the board or card or whatever I decide, and then a mix of the glue with water, you know, half and half even on top, and that would be enough to push it through. And the ones that aren't, you know, you could just add a little bit straight. But yeah, you know, it's like when you look at clouds and see patterns in it, pictures in it. So just looking at this, you know, this lovely, what can we use it for? You know, is it prettier underneath than it is above? What's this shape suggesting? Or maybe, just maybe, take some of that out. Show some more of that underneath. That's a bit more realistic shape. And you could even take these bits and you could glue them with your water and glue mix, just to adhere it into one solid thing. But look at that, that's a really good start of an interesting, I don't like how this cloud disappears under here. What am I going to do about that? There we go, get rid of that. And I can put this somewhere like that. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. I'll glue, we'll leave it, we'll come back, do a last bit of stitching. Alright, so I'm going to do the gluing. I'm just going to use some calico behind. This is nearly the right size, but I'd take it up so that it's definitely got the paper. This will go underneath, And this bit's already fabric, it's fine. So what I'm going to do is put in this kind of order for a start. Making sure that that's covering that. These bits can all be played with later. But let's get some of it down. Now I already have some water in this little plate, and I've added some glue, PVA, white, craft glue or wood glue. I'm just watering it down a bit so it goes a bit further. I can put these pieces down. I don't think the watered down glue is going to work that well, but I can start there by marking in that horizon. And whilst I'm on the front, I'll have a look at the other bits and bobs that are, you know, those folded edges that we did. I'm just going to glue a little bit under, a little bit on top, just to keep those folds permanently in there now. And if I see any edges poking up, I can pop the watered down glue underneath. These little snippets I had that I wanted to be trees in that valley between the two hills. You know, just start placing things down where you might want if you've got any torn bits of paper. Something like that. But we're wanting to get this top, this paper, which is really only a heavy tissue paper, and we want it adhered to the fabric underneath. So just this top bit here, it's not already attached to fabric. We're going to give it a good wet down with a mix of glue and water. And then I'm going to flap it up, making sure that it does, you know, be inside the edge of that calico. And then I'm just going to, you know, pat it down. And once I've done that, I'm going to use a little bit of a mixture of quite watery glue and water, and I'll just do a wash on the top. Make sure it all saturates through. So I'm mixing a little more water into my glue, make it a little bit more sloppy and easy to cover a large area. And paint over that whole bit of tissue paper there. And any other bits that I think I've missed, you know, where the tissue paper is attaching to the hills or the fabric underneath. I'm liking that horizon, that light coloured card that was all nice and wrinkly, crinkled. In fact, I'm loving the texture. But I'm thinking I'll use the last of my glue water mix here. I'm going to take a little bit more of this fibrous kind of mesh or net or interesting paper. And I'm going to cut out some more tree shapes and add a few more on where I imagine the valley is between two hills, and maybe some on the top of the hill. I'm just trying to pick out contours in the ground that are believable from the marks that are already there. I'm just letting them guide me. So a few assorted shaped trees, not all the same size or height, and just march them down this hollow, this valley in between. You know, and that's quite natural. Sometimes you'll see that there's a river between two hills, or the soggiest part of the ground allows for greater foliage, and you'll see trees quite often in that kind of circumstance. But I'm marching those trees out, and down here on the left, it's just a little bit straight there. I'm going to try and block little bits of that in with a little bit of a tree line, maybe even bring in some tissue paper to go over. But that's enough for now. We've got a landscape happening. I hope you've enjoyed watching. If you have, Don't forget to press like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time and we'll finish this. Thanks again for watching.